you created a strategy that is called Nomad real estate investing. So can you kind of walk through what that is and how that works?
Yeah, so I didn't create it. I should be very clear about that. So
Sorry.
no, no. Well, I mean, a lot of people give me credit for creating it, and I did create the name for it.
Okay.
So I'll give you a little background as to how it's formed. My two best friends and I, we're at one of their houses for lunch one day, and he was telling me he's relatively new to real estate investing at the time. And he's like, I want my strategy to be this, where I go buy a house as an owner occupant, I put 5% down or 3.5% down on a duplex, triplex, or fourplex. I move into the property. I fulfill my obligation with the lender to live there for a full year. And then after I'm done living there for a year and I fulfilled that obligation with the lender, they allow me to go ahead and convert that to a rental. So I'll go convert that one to a rental. I'll keep it. I'll go buy another one with 5% down, and I'll just keep repeating this to acquire properties. And so I'm really a big spreadsheet sort of guy. And so I'm thinking to myself, yeah. So I'm running math in my head. I'm like, that's going to be really, really good. So shortly after we have this conversation, I run home and I build the first spreadsheet for modeling this, whereas it was basically like a virtual kind of deal analysis spreadsheet, but it cascaded every year. And then I kept track of the equity you had in the first property and what your cash flow was in the first property with minor assumptions. And I was like, this is amazing. And I sent it over to him later that night. I'm like, this is awesome. You're sort of like a nomad moving from cave to cave on your woolly mammoth. And you keep the last cave and you rent it out to the other cavemen who are kind of like behind you. And so we kind of called it the nomad strategy, because it was like you're nomadically moving from house to house to acquire properties. And so that's really what it is. It's in its simplest form, it's buying a property as an owner occupant. You live there for a year. It's a requirement of the lender. Most of the time, you're getting a little or nothing down loan program to move into the property. And then after you've lived there for a year, you're converting that one to a rental, and you're putting another lower, no down payment down to acquire the next property. And you repeat this process until you have as many rentals as you want. And so that's it in its simplest form.
Got it. Okay. So I guess, I mean, a lot of people talk about house hacking today. I think, especially since Bigger Pockets has blown up, they made that, I think that term really popular. But what's the difference, I guess, between nomad investing and house hacking?
Yep. And the difference, there is a difference, and you can do both at the same time. Okay. So when you're house hacking, you're usually converting a residence that you're living in, and you're getting extra income from that residence. In the most simplest version of it, you're buying a duplex where you live in one half and you rent out the other. That's house hacking. So if you go and you buy any type of unit and you are getting income from the unit, it could be getting roommates, it could be Airbnb a room, it could be putting an RV out in the yard in an RV parking spot. It could be buying a triplex or a fourplex where you're living in one of the units. Maybe you have roommates in the one you're living in. Maybe you have just tenants in the other units that you have. That's all house hacking. Nomad is sequentially buying houses where you live in them, and then you convert them to rentals. So you can go buy a duplex, live in it, rent out the other side, and that could be your first house in your nomad journey. And then when you go buy the next one, you convert both units to rentals, have someone renting out those, and then you go buy a single family home as your next one. And if you want to, you can get roommates in that second house and house hack and nomad at the same time. But the nomad is buying sequentially. House hacking is getting extra income from your properties.